Temple of Febe is one of the hardest encounters in Guild Wars 2. In fact, it was so hard on release that it eventually was nerfed. But for those who were able to clear the original difficulty, a title was made. Legendary Conqueror of Ceres. And I'm gonna get it. So let's go. Join me as I continue my journey to become a legend. As if I wasn't already bad enough at Willbender, on April 14th, 2026, ArenaNet decided to announce a blanket nerf shortly after my CM kill that would drop every class's damage by roughly 10 to 15%. It wasn't certain whether they'd be adjusting boss HP to compensate. In the end, they did without announcing it. But for my scrub level of damage, this meant there was absolutely no chance I could viably take Willbender into LCM. So we went back to the drawing board, and I started looking at builds that were viable, and they all sucked. Pistol Weaver requires way more brain cells than the two I have on hand, yet even with that being the case, I had way too many brain cells to lower myself to the level of playing Warrior. Antiquary feels like a risky class to play for someone who isn't insanely into Thief. I can count the number of people who can play Specialized Elements Evoker on one hand if I was missing 3 fingers and a thumb. I've never played Harbinger in my life, and the last time I played Mechanist I threw up a bit, and I don't want to die with the mech dying to greens or whatever the hell happens during split phases, so that one's out too. So I was in a bit of a pickle. Or was I? You see, I have a friend. You've heard of him before. His name is Oddity. And he plays a mean Weaver. No, seriously, he's really, really mean. He keeps calling me Unk even though I'm in my 30s. And he's so comfortable with Weaver, in fact, that not too long ago he put out a video instructing how even washed up Unks like me can pull over 30k DPS in Temple of Febe CM, and potentially even LCM, using a somewhat watered down version of Weaver that only swaps between Earth and Fire. Using this build, he was able to get a 34k CM log, and posted a guide on how to handle certain mechanics specifically as a Weaver. Strongly recommend you check out that video. So that's what I picked. And in honor of his, contributions, I knew the exact name for this character. So everyone, say hello to I Saw Oddity's Toes. Now, obviously, the first obstacle to this new character was getting it level and geared. So once again, I set out to... Nah, I'm just kidding, I just boost this time around, I'm on a deadline here. Now, for those of you who don't know, boosting to level 80 unlocks all core trait lines and gives you a full set of exotic celestial gear, which is more than enough to get you started with raiding. If you're okay with knowing that you're holding your entire group back. Which for me is just a normal raid anyway, so off I went. Now, I'm not going to bother you with all the explanations on how to gear up a character again, because if you've been watching this series from the beginning, we've covered that fairly extensively. Plus, because ascended items are account bound, I could freely move them over. The only minor problem is that most of the stat combinations were wrong. Oh, and also elementalists use light armor while guardians use heavy armor. Oh, and also the optimal condition damage runes for Weaver is Trapper, not Balthazar, and you can only get those from having 400 in tailoring, armor smithing, or leatherworking, none of which I had, so I needed to level one of those. Oh, and also I needed a Warhorn. Oh, and also I had the wrong sigils. Oh, and also the Relic of the Fractal is soulbound, so I needed another one of those. Oh, and also I was a dumbass and bought 2 of the black ice earrings, even though it clearly says they're unique. But other than that, gearing was super easy. Oh, and also you can't stat swap a backpack without infusing it, so I needed to find a new way to get a backpack, and let me tell you about that ordeal. So, since I needed a second ascended item, and it couldn't be one you get with winterberries, I was kind of scrambling. I was also trying to get some practice on CM that very night, so I somehow needed to get a backpack that was stat selectable, and that proved to be very difficult, until I found a collection that happened to reward 1 accessory and 1 backpack, both of which were stat selectable. It was like Providence. I couldn't believe my luck. All I had to do was complete a few hearts to unlock a vendor that sold the items I needed for Karma, craft the backpack using items I mostly already had, and then get an item off the trading post for how much gold? For the record, I have to stress, do not do this. There are ascended items you can get if you're not on a deadline, but since I had the gold and was on a bit of a self-imposed time constraint, I just went for it. And I was finally geared up and ready to go, until they released another patch that shifted the optimal gearing for Weaver, and nothing matters, I'm so sick of the hobos. But once we breezed through that, all that was left was benching. So let's talk about that. I touched on this in the last video. Essentially, you let some Giga Chad spend hours and hours in the Special Forces training arena, working their fingers into a frenzy trying to get the best damage possible on a stationary target. Your performance is then rated against that benchmark. Generally speaking, your performance as a percentage of the benchmark is rated as follows. 95%. There is no content in the game you can't tackle. You are ready for anything. 90%. You understand your rotation, you're just missing some consistency. 80%. You have the basics down, but your opener's probably not where it needs to be. 70%. You're basically pressing whatever buttons, but your gear is probably right. 60%. Your gear is probably wrong. 50%. Your gear is definitely wrong. 40%. I'm not even sure you've set the golem up right. 30%. Are you sure you're level 80? 20%. Oh, hey, it's my wife. Thanks for supporting me, my love. 10%. Have you heard of Call of Duty? When Temple of Febe released, groups that were looking to clear LCM essentially required any applicant to prove they could reach 95% of the Virtuoso benchmark, which was roughly 42,000 at the time. That requirement has since been relaxed somewhat, since a lot of classes can accomplish that. Ceres' health has been nerfed by 10%, and the flower strat allows non-virtuoso classes to greed more aggressively, allowing for DPS uptime that would have been impossible using any other strategy. That said, even though I may not need 95% benchmark, I want it! I does! Now, you might ask, why? I don't know, it seemed kind of funny. I'd like to think I have a decent Gollum impression. Oh, you mean why do I want 95% bench? I don't know. It's cool. Makes for a good story. Who cares? Just be quiet and watch the video. This is my story, damn it. But first, I'd like to walk you through how you actually set the golem up to make sure you are replicating the circumstances that the benchers are using. First of all benches posted to Snowcrows use the following. Ascended food. While it isn't tradable, it's cheap enough that it doesn't give wealthy players a significant advantage. Note though, that for combat purposes, the only advantage of Ascended food is 375 lifesteal on crit, which has a 2-second internal cooldown and cannot itself crit. This is therefore, at most, a 182 DPS difference if you use an equivalent non-tradable food. Tuning crystals or sharpening stones. No writs or theses, as these were deemed too expensive to justify. Full Ascended gear with infusions. And generally, 10 boons on your character and 10 conditions on the golem. This is because certain classes scale with the amount of boons on themselves or conditions on the target, so it's restricted to 10 to keep it at an even playing field. Now, I've benched characters on my main before, but I never set myself out on the goal of reaching 95%. I'm usually content at 85 to 90, so I had my work cut out for me a little bit here. So how do you close that gap? How do you get the 95% benchmark? Well, here's where I'd like to give yet another shout out to Remagic. As I started researching tips and tricks for how to hit 95, I found a video he had already uploaded several years ago that I strongly recommend you check out. To summarize his video, there are a few steps to optimizing your overall DPS. The first is, perhaps somewhat surprisingly, read the tooltips. Having an understanding of what is going on when you are using your abilities is critical, especially as you close in on 95%, where those optimizations can have a huge impact. Then start whacking. Don't worry about rotation, get a feel for what the abilities do, how long they take to cast, and if you have this intuition, where you might be able to overlap skills. Some skills are instant, some skills have an aftercast. The next suggestion is something I was already doing before I watched the video, but convert the rotation into the buttons that you have to press, and prioritize accurate sequences over speed for now, as speed will come as you get more comfortable. Generally speaking, for most classes, these steps will get you to 90%, but we're looking for 95%. And with Scepter Earthfire having a bench of just under 42,000, meant that I needed to get about 39,800 to hit 95%. So let's get to it. Let's get down to business. It is time to bench. You thought this was easy, that it would be a cinch. Well, you're the worst player I've ever met, but you can bet that when we're through, Mr. I'll get 95 out of you. Cycle earth and fire, you've got a lot to learn. If victory's your desire, it's something you must earn. 85 is the best I've seen you hit, and you're a twit, yet this is true. Somehow I'll get 95 out of you. Holy crap, this guy is bad. He is terrible at weaving. Boys, I fool for thinking I could win.
He's got APM like my dad.
If I was his wife, I'd leave him.
If you want to get embodiment of sin, 95 must push all of your buttons faster. 95. There is simply no other way. 95. You'll have to become a benchmark master if you want to clear the Temple of Febe. Time is racing toward us till you're irrelevant. Just admit this was a failed experiment. You will never see the number you need, so pack up, call it, you're through. How could I get 95 out of you? 95 must push all of your buttons faster. 95 there is simply no other way. 95 you'll have to become a benchmark master if you want to clear the Temple of Febe. 95 must push all of your buttons faster. 95 there is simply no other way. 95 to become a benchmark master if you want to clear the Temple of Febe. I want to tell a little bit of a story about myself. I imagine most people, was introduced to this game by a friend. We worked together. We'd actually known each other for, even back then, we had known each other for probably already almost 10 years. And he said, all right, I have this new game. I think you would really like it. It's called Guild Wars 2. So I fired it up, made my first character, human guardian named Amaverra. I was instantly hooked. It quickly became like all I thought about. I was young at the time. 13 years ago, I was 20. So, I would go to his house, and we would, crack a few brews, and we would do, map completion, or whatever, right? Ascalonian Catacombs, whatever. He was a good friend of mine. We were close enough that we were each other's groomsmen at each other's weddings when we both got married in 2022. I took a break from the game for a while, but then in July of 2024, I finally got back into the game for real. And I met a few people that kind of inspired me to become a content creator for Guild Wars 2. And he was the first person I went to, and I said, "Dude, I think I might do it. I think I might become a streamer. I think I might start streaming Guild Wars 2." And he was super supportive. He loved the idea. But he was killed. August 31st, 2024. He was in a motor vehicle accident, and he was rushed to the hospital, and he didn't make it. And I started streaming in January. He never got it. But, I mean, everybody has their reasons that they play Guild Wars 2. You know, it's escapism, whatever, it's empowering. Talk about how the combat is amazing, the story is awesome. I mean, all of those things are true. I do play it to get away from life, but I also play it because that was the game, right? Like, that was the game that I played with, and that's never going away. So, Brandon, this is for you, buddy.
Not good at the game. 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 Not